So there are different scholarships that University of Twente offers, depending on also the program that you take. So for spatial engineering, there was Orange Knowledge Program.
I did my master's in geographical information systems at the University of Aberdeen, which is in Scotland.
One. We are up. Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the GeoHabari podcast. I'm your host Yariwo Kitiyo, and I'm pretty excited about this new episode. We're calling this the Studying Abroad Geospatial Starter Pack. We're going to look at the entire landscape of studying abroad through geospatial lens. So that means looking at the landscape from scouting, how do you identify universities? What are some of these universities? How do you prep? What documents do you need well in advance if you're in that mind frame of, you're sure you'd want to study abroad? And then also a breakdown of the financials, right? What does the financials look like from tuition to accommodation? What does that look like? Flights. And so that's what we're going to cover on this episode. We have two very knowledgeable guests. This is going to be a knowledge packed episode with very rich and diverse viewpoints from these two guests who've studied abroad in different universities. So yeah, that's what we're going to talk about this today. But before we get into it, I'll have the guests introduce themselves and then we'll jump right into the episode.
Okay, hi. So my name is Anne Rotich. I am very excited to be here. I just recently graduated from my master's. I did my master's in geographical information systems at the University of Aberdeen, which is in Scotland. And yeah, I'm excited to be here, and I can't wait to share like all the little insights I might have to help whoever needs it. So yes.
Hi everyone, my name is Charlynne Chepkosgei. I also recently graduated from University of Twente. I was doing a master's in spatial engineering, and which is based in the Netherlands. So I'm also excited to be part of this show to share insights about how to study in the Netherlands and also the scholarship opportunities. So I'm really excited to be part of this team. Yay! Okay, thank you. So, as you've heard, guys, where they're both from, I think the starting point for me and one of the challenges I always had with studying abroad was where to start and how do you identify courses. And I think I'd really want to get your perspectives, especially on like Anne, you mentioned you did a master's in geospatial information systems from University of Aberdeen, and then Charlynne as well. I know you did a geospatial course as well from Twente. Can we briefly talk about what that looks like? What did it take when you're scouting for your courses? How did you settle for those courses?
Okay, so for my part, because I already like kind of knew what I wanted to master in, I did my undergraduate in GIS as well. So I wanted to, and I felt like the things, especially like studying in Kenya, there are things that were just I had no clarification about, and you know, like how some classes are just very theoretical. I felt even after having the undergraduate, I feel like I still felt like there were very many gaps that I needed to bridge, and also JS was just booming, and it's still booming. So I felt like doing a master's in it was like a good idea. That is why I opted to do JS again, which is I don't know, maybe I just want to be a master, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's just basically what informed my decision to take GIS. And yeah, it's like I'd say abroad, like it has like a better exposure, and you get like more exposed and get a better experience on studying GIS as opposed to Kenya. So that is what informed my decision.
Okay. Charlene, was yours any different with the course you did for your master's at Twente? Yeah, it was slightly different because I didn't want to do exactly what I did in my bachelor's. I did the geospatial engineering at Technical University of Kenya. So I had more background in GIS and remote sensing and also surveying, which was major part of what I studied in my bachelor's. So for me, when I was looking for my master's, I also wanted something to do with remote sensing, but I also wanted some elements of governance maybe and policy. And when I was scouting now for courses, I saw ITC had different specializations for masters. So they have different specializations. And for me, what stood out for spatial engineering was the core knowledge areas that they offer. So it's more like they have three core knowledge areas under spatial engineering, which covers the spatial information science, that is the GIS and remote sensing. It also covers technical engineering, which deals with a lot of modeling aspects and spatial planning and governance. So it's more like integrating all these three core knowledge areas in spatial engineering, and also how they do it is more like in case study projects. So the teaching system was also a bit different from how I viewed it, and that's what attracted me to looking and saying that I want to take the spatial engineering option. Yeah, though there are other options that I wanted to take before, like masters in natural resource management and also geoinformatics. But then I wanted to combine something else apart from just purely GIS and remote sensing. Yeah.
Oh, I like that. And I like that you've also mentioned like there were other courses you'd considered, like natural resource management and geoinformatics. Those were the other two options you
Yeah,
had.
those are the other two options that I was thinking about. Yeah, but then I decided to. So mostly it depends on someone's interest, personal interest. That's what I would say. For someone who would really want to do their masters, they need to know what is the interest that they want to go for. So if you're interested in maybe land administration, there are courses that are
Mhm.
like in University of Twente, we have masters that covers the land administration aspect. If you want natural resources or natural hazards, or even something to do with geological, like the earth observations in applied sciences, you can, depending on your interest as a person, you can always go for a master course that speaks to you more and how you want your career to go.
Okay. So I really like that. I noticed one of the just on steel courses and some of the universities that are offering these courses. I noticed, and I think what in one of our in the offline chat you'd mentioned, in addition to just the courses that Charlene has mentioned, there are other courses as well you are looking into doing. Do you mind mentioning that for just users who are trying to explore, especially guys in camp who are trying to figure out, is it just GIS or are there other things I can start researching on and looking up besides like what Charlene has mentioned? Are there other additional courses that were like big contenders in what you are in what you are selecting for your masters?
Okay, so my like when I was looking for universities, my emphasis was GIS and remote sensing, but I had like a scope like that I wanted to focus on. So my scope was like GIS in a university that is focused on environmental issues, so environmental management, things like sustainability and climate change and climate control. That was my main focus. Like that's why when I was looking for universities, I looked at universities with like research or this in like these themes. And it's very funny because I also had applied for the University of Twente. There's this, I think it's geographical environmental management program that's it's in Twente and like collaboration universities. It's very funny because I'd also applied to that one. I'd applied to, I think, it's called Wageningen in Netherlands as
Yeah.
well, which is also there's almost like the same scope. And then I also applied to a bunch, like to be fair, all the universities I applied to, because I think more universities now are getting to the space of climate change and climate control and sustainability. So you'd notice like more universities have that like research clause in their websites. So that is my focus because that is something like I'm really passionate about. And then other things I would say when I was looking for, because like, okay, when I was applying for courses and now I'd say that landscape has really changed. That was the main, and it's still a focus. But I feel now with the age of AI and all this artificial intelligence, like many jobs or even many like universities are integrating like aspects of artificial intelligence and things like machine learning and like cybersecurity in their courses. So I'd say like somebody who's applying for like who's looking for like school now, although like climate change is still a problem and is still like a hot topic, these are other aspects that people can consider or like when they're making their decision, because even like the jobs I'm seeing now, they want an aspect of this whole AI thing.
Oh, I really like that. I like that tip on like what guys can start looking at, like what's new and some of the examples you've given. And for guys who want to get into research on climate change, then there's also components they can basically look into. I think one of the other things that would be interesting to talk about is when you're picking both your universities. Um, were there accreditations you are looking at? Like what are the qualifications for these universities, and how important is that in terms of, is this university well known for some of the courses I want to take? Was that a consideration you guys looked into? Is that something that guys should consider as well?
Can I start? I'll just say yes or no, because I'd say comparatively, like most of the universities abroad, like they offer very good quality of education. If I compare, which is hard to say, if I compare to some universities in Kenya, so I'd say it depends what you're trying to do. So let's say like my university is really old. I think it's one of the top, like the oldest universities in the UK, which gives you like leverage when you're trying to look for jobs and things like that. But also I'd say if you're getting into something that's really modern and something that's like very cut edge, newer universities also offer like better opportunities. They have better, like better research facilities. They have newer and younger, like researchers and lecturers. So I would not really like how do you say, I'd not dismiss a university based on the age or like how old it's been there, rather than the quality of like what they are producing and the quality of research. Because I know like there's some universities which, let's say they are, let's say like 100 years old, 200 years old, which is relatively young as a university, but they offer really good quality education, if that makes sense. So yes or no, it just depends with what you're trying to do, and just do a, like research. I think like you can go wrong.
Yeah, for me it was more based on referrals, and also like the number of students who graduated or have gone through ITC, University of Twente. Like I really
Yeah.
got a lot of referrals, and I also met alumni,
Okay.
a great number of alumni who've studied here before, and they're working in amazing institutions in Kenya, and also some of them are working now abroad. So I think through referrals, for me, that was kind of the main thing that I kind of considered, and also now getting to know and researching more about the university, and seeing that this is the course that I wanted to do. Like it was really resonating with my interest in terms of my professional growth. That was the main thing that kind of made me to focus on University of Twente ITC.
Okay.
Yeah.
So those are quite insightful insights from you guys. I think the other thing would be, since we're talking about like, identifying courses and the universities you guys settled for, when it comes to the application and sort of looking at cutoff points, are there such considerations when you're doing this application, especially for guys in campus who are still probably third years and fourth years? How important are GPAs at this particular point in time when you're applying for your masters, especially geospatial students
Uh,
specifically?
I think it's important because most universities, when you're applying, they say they only accept, let's say, applications from, I think, second class. I've seen many second class upper and second class lower. Those are like the ones I have seen. Like that is the cut point for most universities. But I would say, like when you're applying for like as an international student, one of the many things like my want to consider is like funding, for example. And I see like if you get like the highest quality, like like if you get like a first class, for example, like people always assume that you're better even if it's not the case. So it helps
Yeah.
it helps to have like a first class. So because like yeah, it helps. Like it's not the most important thing, but it helps. So I'd say if you can get second class upper and above, that would be fantastic. But I've seen even some universities which accept up to second class, second division, but anything below that I've not seen. So I'd say just aim for second class upper to be on the safe side.
Okay. Charlene, is that the same for your experience as well? Are there cutoffs for ITC?
Yeah, I think for me, I had second class upper, so that's what I applied with. But I think for sure, as Anne said, it mostly depends on the universities. So different universities could have different cutoff points. For University of Trent, I think they also consider the upper, and also maybe they might consider as well the upper. I mean, the second class, the lower division, I think, and also of course first class. It's that's guaranteed for sure, but also other aspects that can qualify you apart from the academic qualifications is the motivation letter, like how you really uh, write and say why you want to do your course outside the country. You have to write to the university what is your motivation that you want to do this particular course.
Mm,
So apart from the academic credentials, I think also how you present yourself and how you convince the university that what you're coming to learn maybe will be beneficial to you, and you're trying to improve your skills on these particular areas. So that is also the other part that they can also check. Yeah. So people should not be discouraged about the academic. They should just try, and of course now they can defend themselves, maybe using the motivation letters, because I think that's one
Okay.
of the major thing that you have to really work.
Yeah, so I was saying, one of the, just to add on what Charlene has said, I think I was watching a video of like this girl who was saying like how she studied abroad, and she was saying like, for the most part, some people just like they think like, let's say if you get like a second class law or even law, that you're just like discouraged to apply for universities. But like what people need to understand is like, yeah, when you're applying for university, it's like you're applying for like a job, for example. Like you have to like give your CV and also the motivation thing. So you might not be really good
Yes,
at let's say like academics, but the work you're doing
yes.
is outstanding. You know, like maybe you're doing something in the community, maybe
Mm.
your work experience is so broad, like they'll not pass out on that because of just like mere academic. So that's something also to like consider, because even when you're applying for universities, they want to see your references, they want to see your CV and all the things you've been doing, and of course, as Sharin said, like a strong motivation letter that
Yes.
helps as well.
Okay.
So education is not everything. Okay, the grades not everything.
Yeah.
I like that, and I like that. I like that both of you brought about like some of the things you need to focus on, like the extracurricular, like what you're doing for community, and like being able to push through and being able to explain in your application what you're doing more, what other things you're doing. And I think speaking of that, what are some of the sort of, let me call them, documents that you need to have in place when you're planning to go abroad? And this especially now, I think most of the target audience for this
Yeah.
episode I had in mind were people in campus. And when you're preparing and okay, I know I want to go abroad, I've done my research, and like, what are some of the papers and documents I need to have in place, especially the ones that you rarely think about that caught you guys off guard and you're like, oh wow, I didn't know I needed that.
I think more or less, like if I'd say, like I would say, like from the UK perspective, because I'll give like the UK and then she'll maybe give her perspective. So the documents I remember I needed, of course, the first one is like a passport, which was a bit weird. Okay, for some universities they wanted like an actual valid passport, so you couldn't even apply for the course without a passport. I thought like the passport would only be necessary like when you get, let's say, like the course, because I remember like 20 they wanted the passport before you applied,
Oh
and
wow.
then yeah,
Yeah, that's why for me, I always recommend the first thing, if you just want to know, you want to always go abroad, just have the passport ready. That is
yeah,
like the number one ticket. Yeah.
It's
yeah.
new. Okay.
And then so like a passport, so I got my passport, I think, because I was applying for the 20, I was like, that's why I got it like as soon as I could, so I could apply for the 21. And then I think but now the Aberdeen one, you really didn't need a passport until like you're applying for the visa. And then the other thing they wanted is your transcripts and your degree certificate. Both of them need to be verified and like with descriptions of like what they meant, and also like they need to be like the like the legal copy from school. And then they wanted, so like in the UK you don't need like any language, like any languages. If you did your, especially if you did your undergraduate in, let's say, in Kenya, like they know they teach undergraduates in English, so you don't need like a test. So for the most universities, but I know some universities might require them, but most universities don't require like English test, the English language proficiency test. The only thing they might need is like a letter, like a formal letter from the university, confirming that your studies was done in English. And then for some courses, maybe like technological courses, you had to do some kind of test, but for JS that was not available, not like relating. And then also what they needed was a CV, and then they wanted recommendation letter. They wanted both academic, and so you get from your professors or work employees. And then you need a statement of purpose, so for the university. And then so if you're bound, like now one those are the most important ones. And then after you go through the next process is when they ask for your financial documents. But when you're applying, those are the ones you needed: the passport, transcripts, the language proficiency, your CV, and your recommendation letter, a statement of purpose. And then for the CV, like for Europe based countries, I'd suggest people like make their CVs with like it's like a platform called Europass. So it gives you like the format. So you send your Europass formatted CV with that. So that's for my
Oh, there's
key.
like a format that
Yeah.
they require for your CV. You've said that's a platform. It's called
Yes.
Europass.
Yes. So you can do your
Oh,
CVs, you
okay.
can do
Yeah.
your cover letters and things like that. Actually, this was what my mentor like hooked me up.
Mm. Yeah. For I mean, what Anne has mentioned, all those are requirements for sure. But for me, also for spatial engineering, we required to do an English test. So it mostly depends with the course. So for spatial engineering under University of Twente, that was a requirement because we have different. It's a very multicultural or yeah, very multicultural course. So because other students who coming from different other parts of the country, they needed to do the English test. So that's a requirement for spatial engineering. But for the other courses in ITC, the master's courses in ITC, it's not a mandatory. So depending on what course you really want to do, you have to check those requirements if you have to do an English test. So that was the only extra thing that I had to do apart from the other requirements that Anne has mentioned. Yeah.
Oh my God, this is so interesting. So, Charlene, you actually sat for an exam for
I
you to
did.
get into. Oh
Imagine,
wow.
yes, I had to study. I had to study those. I had to do the listening, the writing, and all those things. And then I did an exam for it, and it's actually quite expensive. So you have to kind of save for it, and those are the extra financial bits that you have to cater for. Yeah, but not all courses anyway. But I had to really sit for that exam. I remember in the British, yeah, Council.
Okay, I'm glad you guys have brought up costs. We'll get
Yeah.
to costs in a bit. So one of the other things I was curious about is I'm wondering about the different open seasons for the different universities. For the Scotland universities, for University of Ibadan, Anyos and Charlene University of Twente, what are the open seasons for these applications? Are there specific periods where guys need to apply for these intakes?
Yeah, so I'd say like for GIS, like it depends. Not all courses. Like for my course, we had two intakes. That's what they're called intakes. Yeah. So there's like a January intake and there's like a September intake. Though I'd advise anyone who's like coming to study just start at September with like the rest of the students, because one thing like the UK masters is only 1 year and it's a very intense year of your life. You rethink everything you have ever decided to do. The days I'll be like, why am I even doing this? Because like everything, like what you do, like 2 years, you're doing it in a year. So January and September, that includes your dissertation. If you're some universities, they may have like internships, so that might be let's say 15 months or something. But for most universities, it's only 12 months. So some universities have January intakes and September intakes. But most, I would say almost all universities, they have the September intake. So applications usually, I would say, would open around April. So you can, as soon as like the last intake, like so let's say like the general intake the guys are done, like I'd say 2 months after they just apply, like they open the applications and they are open up until I think 1.5 months to the semester. So I'd say they close almost sometime in July. So you have a lot of time to apply. And then the January one, they open as soon as September guys go start uni. So I'd say around October all the way to December. And then now, because you need to consider, you need to apply for your visa, you need to like do all these things. But typically the universities really, my university like responded really fast. Like I think in 3 days I got an admission. So it's a case on case by universities. Yeah. To be fair, like I applied to so many universities. I applied, I think, to more than 20 universities. And all of them I got admission except from like one German one. So yeah.
Getting admission is always easier to some extent, yeah.
Oh, really? Okay. And let me ask, because I know Annie mentioned there's like two intakes. There's the January one and then there's the September one. And I'm assuming, so when you apply for the September one, I'm assuming class starts in January.
No, no, no. So if you apply like after like so if you apply around like April, those are the guys who go for September. Like those are the main like the biggest classes.
Oh, okay. Those are the
So the
intakes.
intake, yeah.
Oh,
So
okay,
so if you
okay.
apply around April, I think they usually open really early. I think from around March they open. So they'll take it's going to be open until like around sometime in July. That's when they close, and then they accept people, and then these are the people who are supposed to report in September.
The reason I'm asking is because I know when you started, you were discouraging guys from doing the January one, the January intake. Do you mind like briefly explaining why?
Yeah, like in my personal experience, because I came in January, so like you more or less join the other people who came in September. So class is a bit inverted. So you like there's no way like they're going to like stop and start everything for you guys. So you will just join the September people and then you have an extra semester, which is a bit disadvantaged if especially somebody who did not have like JS experience. Like or they're just meeting JS for the first time. It's a bit complicated for you. But bear in mind that not so many universities have the January intake. That's why I'm just saying it depends from person to person and university to university. So people should just do their own research and yeah,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Charlene, was that the ITC intakes? Are they the same? Do you have do they have the January and September, or it's what does that look like?
Yeah, we have two intakes as well. We have the September intake and the February intake. So if you want to, so mostly for the September intake, the opening, the application is from 1st of October. So once the students have started like the September intake, the application now opened for the next year for you to do in the September intake. You apply it from 1st of October, and then the deadline
Okay.
is 1st of May. Yeah.
And the duration is the same. Is it a 1 year course? The way Annie is saying it's like
No,
been.
for University of Twente, for ITC, it's 2 years. So you have the first year and the second year. Second year is more of the research part. Yeah. But yeah, what I wanted to also mention is despite the universities that you want to apply or in anyone who wants to apply, most of this information are really in the respective university websites. So if you really just go to the university websites and look for any course or any master specialization that you want, they always write the intakes like the University of Twente, we have the September intake and the February intake. The February intake opens in 1st of March and then it ends in 1st of October so that people can now do it in February. So all this information is there in the university website. So for planning purposes, because of
Mhm.
course you have to have that long-term planning skill so that if you know you want to start next year, you can know I need to start application by this period. Yeah.
Okay. Great. So the other thing that I'd want us to get into, which is like the most interesting bit, are scholarships and what that looks like, especially like from your perspective, Anne, and then for any knowledge you have on that, and then Charlene as well, any knowledge you have on like scholarships that exist, again, with perspective from your respective universities. The scholarship landscape when you're doing a GIS course, what does that look like? Are there common scholarships that guys can look out for? And then what's the sequence of this? Is it you getting an admission then getting a scholarship, or is it a scholarship then an admission? What's like the order of events?
I'd say it depends. First of all, like I'd say like because me, I was given I had the Commonwealth scholarship, so Commonwealth shared scholarship. So that meant like my scholarship was factored in by my university and by Commonwealth. So and I also know like there's like the Commonwealth, even under the Commonwealth, there's so many universities. I'd say more or less it's very different for people and for like universities. There are very many types of there are very many types of like scholarships. It's just like a matter of somebody is just researching. First of all, the thing I'd say is I highly discourage anyone from like paying for their master, like for postgraduate, because it's really expensive. Like the cost of
Mm-hmm.
living is really expensive, and it's increasing as the days go by. So if you can like even if it's like partial scholarship, or even if it's like grant to help you with your
Mm-hmm.
living expenses or your flat, just like you can find extra funding resources, please do so. And I'd say for scholarship, the thing is like the first of all, there are scholarships offered by countries. Even there's a Kenyan one. There's like just complete
Okay.
countries offer like like full scholarships. I'd say like I've seen a Romanian one, there's
Please.
Italy, there's Hungary, there's Poland, there's so many countries. Just like if you just Google, you'll be amazed of how many scholarships there are. And then there's like scholarships offered by organizations. Let's say maybe like a scholarship, let's say you're doing something in the IT space or STEM. There are many scholarships for women in STEM and this kind of science and engineering careers. There's like scholarships, like let's say who deal, let's say with let's say climate research, for example, or just specific sectors. There are scholarships. So like the most famous ones, like the Commonwealth and the Chevening people. Those ones are like yeah. So those ones like they are more, but also like they have like some disadvantages. But I'd say I'd say first of all, I'd say like you just do your research, and then whatever it is, you start like applying really early. So you need to understand because like you see, my scholarship was like because the Commonwealth was only based in a few universities, so I had to look for universities.
How does the let me ask, Anne, for the
Yeah.
Commonwealth, how does the Commonwealth work? Is it like it's there is like our and as you're mentioning the Commonwealth, are there websites or WhatsApp groups or I don't know any resource that you are part of that made you more informed about these scholarships for guys to just sort of have pro tips when they're looking out for this, especially when you're like a third year student and you're trying to figure that out? What is there a key? Is there a website that comes into mind or a resource off the top of your head that they can start looking into or join or even Charlene
I think there's the thing is like honestly, me, I was just always on YouTube. To be fair, I was just always looking for videos.
or YouTube? Okay,
Yeah, there's this I think website. I think it's called African something opportunity. I will try to look for the name and then I will share. I will try to
okay,
just look how it's called. There's one called Scholarship. Wait, Opportunities for Africans.
Yeah, African opportunities and also opportunity desk.
opportunity desk. So that's like one of the
Yeah,
websites.
opportunity desk. There's also another one called afterschoolafrica.com.
Okay, so these are platforms that like where they post some of these common scholarships that guys can start applying for.
Yes, yes.
Okay, and then let me ask, so what should I go out looking out for? Should I first go out looking out for an admission and then I look for like what's the advice on that? How did you guys approach that? What did you get 1st?
Yeah, for me, with the experience that I had when I was applying for an admission is mostly I went by first getting the admission, and then after that now
Mm-hmm.
looking for a scholarship. But anyway, because for me my experience was just I decided that I want to do it in University of Twente, so I
Yeah.
started by doing an admission by applying for the admission first, and then once I got the admission, I got now a chance to explore the scholarships that they were offering. So there are different scholarships that University of Twente offers, depending on also the program that you take. So for spatial engineering, there was Orange Knowledge Program, which is called OKP or NOFIC. So that one, that scholarship covers short courses. You can also apply for just short GIS and remote sensing courses that is up to 6 months, and also now it also covers masters for 2 years. And then there's yeah, there's also the course that Anne was saying that she wanted to do. It's called Geoinformation for Environment Modeling and Management. It's a GEM scholarship program. That one is under Erasmus, and yeah, you can also apply for that
Mm-hmm.
scholarship. And then there's also another one
Okay.
within the university called Excellence Scholarship. That one is for spatial engineering and any other specialization as well. But
Mm-hmm.
for scholarship options, I can recommend guys to. So if you want to really study in the Netherlands, basically you can look into NOFIC. There's a website called NOFIC, or Dutch Organization for Internationalization in Education.
Mm-hmm.
That one will give you possible sources of
Okay.
funding, and also basically another website that would really be handy in the Netherlands is another website called Study in an Ed. That is Study in the Netherlands.
Okay.
Yeah, that is like the official starting point to study in the Netherlands. It will
Mm-hmm.
give you all the information that you want to know about the universities and also the scholarship opportunities.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Oh, wow. Okay, I've learned so much. I didn't even know like
those tips you've given on some of the websites. And then the other thing would be in terms of these scholarships. I know there are partial scholarships and there's like full scholarships. I'm wondering for like if you guys don't mind talking about like the scholarships you got, like are they partial or full? I know Charlynne has talked about like the scholarship she had. Can you briefly talk about like were they full or partial scholarships? And then are you able to put a figure to the costings? Are you able to like put a figure to like the ballpark figure of like sort of roughly how much maybe that master's cost in terms of like the tuition fees or the accommodation, like a ballpark figure for guys to just have a rough idea of what the financials should look like?
Okay, so I'd say because like my scholarship was fully funded, and that included like the tuition, and then
Hey, okay, look at you guys getting full scholarships. Allah! I mean, the way you said so seamlessly, like, okay, so for me, mine was fully funded. Okay, go you.
Very relaxed.
God's
Yeah,
blessings.
yeah.
Literally, like it's God's providence. So mine was like entirely like literally you just come and you just study because like they were paying for the flight, they were paying for the flight back and forth. They're giving you like they give you like a monthly stipend, and then they were paying for like because our time was like during COVID, so like you had coming to the UK you have to take like the TB test and and the like the COVID test. So all those you had to pay by for yourself, but as soon as you came here, they refunded all the money.
Wow, yeah.
So yeah, so they pay for everything. So yeah, if you can, please go for it.
Mhm.
It's like you don't get stressed because like school and also trying to do all this part-time jobs is not easy, especially like I'd say for the UK because like school is just always on your back. I'd say if you can't do this the thing, and then for the tuition, I know Aberdeen was relatively cheaper if I compare to other universities that I got admission in. Aberdeen is way cheaper, so my course, I think it was £18,000, which is now the pound, the Kenyan to shillings. My God, it's increasing fast. It's increasing like literally like when I came here it was £1 was 150. Now it's 182. Yeah, so 18,000. It's what? It's like is it 3 million? I don't this is
It is. It actually is.
so yeah, but then it was £18,000. If you go to like let's say universities, let's say
Mhm.
like the like some universities like maybe you're going to like I'd say in actual England it could be like the Leeds and all these like Cambridges and it could be more than that. So I'd say around £20,000, which is you see like tuition on itself is almost 4 million. You're not factored in like rent and all this. You need to eat, you need to get your flight. So yeah, if you can get a scholarship, please, please. This is not easy.
And let me ask
Yeah,
for the 18,000 to 20,000 pounds,
yeah.
that's for the entire thing. That's for both tuition, accommodation, and your stipend. Is that everything?
No, 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 no. That's on. No, that's only for the tuition because like my fees for the year. Yes, that's fully tuition. And then, so I would imagine you use, let's say if you're living in student accommodation, let's say if you're really like really like very meager, if let's say you're like if you live £300, if you live in student accommodation, which is like the like six people in a
Mm-hmm.
like in a floor or something, you pay let's say £350. But those ones they usually charge you per week. So say one let's say £100 a week. So I'd say £400. That is accommodation. For a month. So times 12, that is how much is that? That's £4,800. That's like let's say £5,000 for accommodation, and then you need to eat. So I'd say almost thirty
Mm-hmm.
thousand pounds. £30,000, like average, like very average. That is like you're not doing anything else, not traveling or something. That's like
Okay.
5 million shillings, I'd
And-
say. But
Oh,
then
that's for everything.
that's yeah, for everything. Although I've not even put the flight, so it will be more than that.
Okay. And so for the what did I want to ask? Oh yeah, so when you're doing the like the way you've calculated the accommodation,
what would you? I'm wondering. Okay, I think let's first look at Charlene's. Charlene, do you have a rough figure of you for University of Twente, like the entire cost of what someone would need? Like Anna's mentioned, like University of Aberdeen would be roughly 5 million for the entire thing, including tuition and accommodation.
Yeah, for University of Twente is tuition for 2 years because it's 2 years. So each year is 16,000 euros. So that's like 32,000 for the whole course. That is just for tuition. 32,000
Okay.
euros for the 2 master's years, and then cost of living goes to up to around 12,000 per year. So if you multiply times two, that's
That's
24,000.
24.
So if you add, that's 56,000 euros. That is almost
Yeah.
6 million or 7 million.
8
Yeah,
8.7.
for sure, it's really expensive for international students. So if you really can get full scholarship, but even if you can get, if you are able to do partial
Mm-hmm.
scholarship, for me, I came with partial scholarship at first. OKP was catering for my first year, that is cost of living and also
Okay.
the tuition. And then when I got here, I
Mm-hmm.
did the first year, and they even covered the flight
Mm-hmm.
and everything. But then now later on, when I was now getting to my second year, the university stepped in, and they paid for my the rest of the tuition I requested. Yeah, so that can also the way, like if you can find a partial
Mm-hmm.
scholarship that you can start with, and then you can find other ways to fund it, then that would be
Mm-hmm.
better. But for sure, if you really apply for
Okay.
full scholarship, so that you just come and study and just focus on your studies, that would be the best way we can advise for sure.
And
Yeah.
and now that we are looking at costs and like the rough budget we are getting of like for the two universities, are there like tips around cost saving or bringing down this cost? Maybe through, especially if you're like on a partial scholarship and you're trying to sort of narrow down your costs. Are there tips like maybe, I don't know, living in school as opposed to living outside, apartment sharing as opposed to you living by yourself, transport? How do you navigate around that to just sort of bring down this cost, especially if you're not on a full scholarship? Are there like pro tips around saving and using your money better?
Okay, Charlene, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I can go fast. For the accommodation, definitely would recommend, if for the Netherlands here, when you come to ITC, mostly they in your first year they already give you a place where you stay. So that is like a guarantee, but it's a bit expensive, I would say, but it's already subsidized for students. But then when you're in your second day, if you want now to save a bit, you can move out of the international ATC hotel, like where the student accommodation is, and then you can look with your friends, like cost sharing, where you get an apartment with maybe two or three friends, and then you can cost share. That becomes a bit cheaper, I would say. So living with other people, that's one way of cutting costs. The other way, maybe when it comes to buying groceries, there are different supermarkets that are more like less friendly, cost friendly. So you can always find out the supermarkets that are kind of cheap in terms of the groceries, where you buy your groceries and your shopping. And also maybe for clothes, you can do secondhand clothes stores. That one can at least save you some money. And also another thing for yeah, you like the thrift shops. Yes, yes, exactly. Though anyway, once in a while, it's not bad to treat yourself, definitely. But at least you can try and just try and cost and save on that bit. Also, the major part in the Netherlands is we travel by bike, so that's the like the the cheapest way of mode of transport. Yeah. So, because taking the bus and taking sometimes the train, of course, when you want to go to different cities, you can take the train. But if you want to just move around the city, buying a bike for yourself would really save you so much money throughout the year. Because it's once you have the bike, you can always travel around anytime. Yes. So those are some of the ways you can save money. Maybe Anne now can save from her end.
Okay, so yeah, it's more or less the same. But the thing is, like, like what I found, because like, you see, like, let's say you're coming for a master's, it's only 1 year. And then if you get like the university accommodation, so I would say like, I would say like having a flat is cheaper because first of all, like most of those universities, like the university, the contract is like 9 months, so you can't really move for the first 9 months. Like once you start, like you sign the lease, and that is like more or less your entire duration of your course. And then as soon as you finish uni, like you just have to like you need to go and find somewhere else. So I'd say
Yeah.
for my sake, I find it's better to just find a flat, and then there are like websites because like I got my flat on a website called Spare Room to just like get a flatmate, and also here sharing flats even with like people of the opposite gender, it's not a big deal. People just like live together, and it's not a big problem. So, because like the thing is, I would if somebody's coming to the UK, I would advise against living in uni because it's only 1 year, and then like I don't feel like it's a good value of money. It's a very small room, and for the cheapest option, I would say is like the ones you pay per week. I'd say £100, and that is like shared bathroom, shared kitchen. It's just too messy, and then you also included with like undergraduate students who have like less like workloads, so it's just hectic. But and then if you want to live like a private, that like I know there are places where it's like more quieter. You also have to pay more for that. So and then if you let's say have like an ensuite room, it's going to be around £150 a week. That's like £600 a month. But then you can easily get a house which you're paying like £400 for that. And then if you're a student in the UK, so we have what is called like the council tax. This is basically for the county council for water and garbage collection. So you pay for that. But if you're a student, you get exemption. So I would say like that's the 1 year you get full exemption of like the council tax. But the only thing you'd pay maybe is for gas and heating and for rent, which I
Mm-hmm.
find it's cheaper if you pay like your own flat and then just having a flat. You can even get like a 3 bedroom flat, and that makes it cheaper. You can go for like cheaper neighborhoods as opposed to like the higher end because like council taxes like the UK is a bit complicated, but like you get used to it. And then what I'd also say is maybe look for a flat that's a bit closer to school. So maybe like I'd say even 20-minute walk time, so you like never take the bus because I'd imagine one ticket, let's say from like the UK, like my town is like £2 one single bus. So if you're gonna take it every day, which is not going to be very economical. Other
Yeah.
thing I'd say when you're getting your flight, you just do it like as soon as possible. As soon as you know you're coming, start saving for your flight and guess like a ballpark on the time you're going to come to uni. So apply what is it called? Like book your flight as early as you can, and then there are like this websites like Skyscanner and things like that you can use to like check which are like the
Mm-hmm.
best um flat, cheaper options. And then I would suggest like somebody is coming from home, I would suggest like almost more or less buy everything from home. Like for the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks, ideally like you should only buy like like food or something like the really like perishable things, because before you get used to here, before you get used to the conversion, the first time I used to come I'm like, oh my goodness, this thing is like here it's like
Yeah.
so this pounds. If I convert to Kenyan shillings, I was getting stressed. So, like, honestly,
Yeah. Converting is crazy. You can go crazy. You'll be like, oh my god.
oh my god, let me tell you guys, one day, because I didn't come with like maize ugali, so I didn't buy that, and I really wanted to eat. So I went to buy it in this African shop. My G, 2 kgs was like, I think £4, 4.99. It was like not even like good quality, which I convert is like almost like paying 1,500 shillings for 2 kgs.
Robbery.
Honestly,
But it's
oh
robbery.
my goodness, like I would suggest if you like tea, buy your teas. If you like porridge, buy your porridge. Also the African shops, they don't have Kenyan things for the most part. Your spices, the pilau masala things come with those ones. If you have dreadlocks, come with your own wax. If you have like braids, buy your own braids. Like buy as many things as you can from home, and then when you come here for the first, let's say you just need to buy like the onions and the like the groceries, perishable things. And then and
Yeah,
then like even
exactly.
clothing, if you can get like the thrifting, like the mtumba in Kenya, like the jackets, buy them there because here it's going to be expensive. So buy your jackets, buy your raincoat. Even if you just buy one or two, that's adequate.
Yeah.
Because like I think here in the UK, you have all houses have washing machines. So if you come, you can just wash them, and that's fine. But at least buy them, so
Okay.
like you don't have to come and buy here. And then also what Charlene said, the shopping, the supermarkets, which even if they are close to you, like you always go to the
Yeah.
Lidls
Buy
and the,
them. Yeah.
you just take one day cheaper ones. Yeah. You more or less the first month I was just spending my money anyhowly. But
Yeah.
now I am a master. Like tell me why, I would show you all the, you know,
All the ways to save money.
all the ways to save money. I know where to buy. Like I know, they know how they say this. It's Indian aunties. They know where. I know everything. And then I'd say also, like for the
Yeah,
most
the
part, let's
cheaper
say when you're
ones.
doing things, they're usually student discounts. So if it's eating out or going to buy clothes or doing all those things, I always ask if they have a student discount. So always carry your student ID. Then that way it's going to be cheaper for you. Yes. And then also I would say, like sometimes, like how people are applying for universities, like they want the really posh universities, let's say like the Cambridges. To be fair, if you like for this big universities, it's very expensive one, and also maybe the university might be good in, let's say Cambridge, for example. You need to look at the specific course that you're looking for, not like the overall university. You might get like a better university, let's say
Yeah.
University of Edinburgh, which is also prestigious, but like it's a bit cheaper. But like look at the program as opposed to the name of the university, which might be
Mm.
even cheaper. Yeah.
I like that. Okay. Hey, literally like a European starter pack. Guys, you've had what you need to carry. And then the other thing, now we're talking about cost saving. Last but not least, is can you, are guys allowed to work and study at the same time? Is there a way you can offset some of these costs by working?
For the UK, I think because when you come here on a student visa and you're only allowed to work for 20
Mm-hmm.
hours during term time, up to only 20 hours, and then let's say when you're after summertime. But like if you're doing a master's, you're always on term, because like you're doing during summer, you're doing your dissertation. So for the UK, you'll only work 20 hours until you finish for the most part, yeah. But if somebody's coming to do undergraduate or something, maybe they might do during summer. So I'd say 20 hours, which roughly, let's say if you're being paid minimum wage, I'd say around 150 to 200 pounds, but then that's without tax and you get taxed. So I would say around that, which might offset, like your groceries or like part of your
Mm-hmm.
rent. Yeah, it helps.
So the 20 hours is for the entire duration you're there?
No, 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 per week. 20 hours per week. Yes, because like ideally, if you're a master's student, if you're a master's student, you can only work for 20 hours, and you are like usually you're on term the entire year, because when you can work for 40 hours is during summer. But like as a master's student in the UK, even during summer, you are doing your
Oh,
dissertation. So
okay.
you are still a student. So you can't work more than 20 hours.
Charlene, that's the same for ITC. 20 hours. What does that look like? Mhm.
For Netherlands is 16 hours
Oh,
per week.
16 hours per week. Oh, wow. These are very different. Okay. So 16 hours and 20 hours a week. And like, would you, I'm wondering from both of your experiences, can you give us perspective on like briefly, is that manageable? Is that something someone would, because I know the way you're saying, like both of you have really mentioned on how intense these programs are. How possible is that for someone to be like, okay, so since I'm going on I'm not getting a scholarship, or it's a partial scholarship, I will
Mhm.
work for a certain duration. How manageable is that? How practical is that?
For me, I always say you need to just plan yourself, because at the end of the day, it's how you manage yourself. So you, for sure, the
Okay.
academics part is really intense. Like you'll always have assignments, you'll always have something to do during the weekend. So it's how you really manage yourself, how you manage your time, and how you try to balance the academics and also the work aspects. And also what is important for you. If you really want to find a balance, you'll always find a balance by planning yourself. So it's more about just knowing how to plan. Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense. Hmm.
For my part, I would say, like, yeah, people do it. Like, that's the thing, though. Like, people, it's going to be intense. So, like, if you're coming, just be prepared for like intense. Like, just be mentally prepared, because many people don't have scholarships and they still need to make it work. They have to go to class as you as well. So,
Yeah.
for my sake, I couldn't even work because of the Commonwealth scholarship. Like, you cannot work, but other my classmates would go to work, and so you just like, because ideally most employment places you just give them like your timetable, so they assign shifts
Mm.
based on your timetable. It's going to be intense, of course. What Charlene said, like, just set your priorities. Maybe
Mm.
instead of like going out, you spend time, like maybe have go to work, like work after class. Then always need to prioritize your time and based on like the things you're doing. But yeah, it's manageable because people do it and it just has to be done because it's life is expensive and you have to pay for uni and have to pay through things. So, but
Yeah.
it's going to be really intense. Yeah.
Okay. And then the other bit, last but not least, is like I'm wondering because the master's program, is there a section where you have to do like an internship or an external program to sort of expose you to more practical scenarios? Is there such a thing with your master's program? What's the practicality in terms of you being linked to an external organization? Is there such a thing in your master's program?
For ITC, it's a requirement. For ITC, for the special engineering course that I did, it's a requirement that you have to do an internship
Mm-hmm.
in your second year of study. So towards the end, you are attached, not really attached, but the university normally gets different uh, requests, maybe from different organizations. So you can always apply to an organization that you feel you are relating with. Maybe you want to do something with remote sensing or GIS. So mostly there are different companies that you can apply through the university. Personally, I managed to get one with NASA Xavier, and it was a really nice experience for me. But there are also other courses, like the other specializations that I
Mm-hmm.
mentioned. That one you don't like. It's not really a requirement, but some students do it. If you don't do it the internship, you can take extra elective courses, and then it's because it's at the end of the day it's about getting some credits. Internship also like contributes to a part of your overall credits. So if you don't want to do the internship, you can also take some electives. So in the other specializations, there are students I know or other colleagues who did not do the internship, but then they had to do, let's say, like two
Okay.
other
Okay.
courses to cater for that missing credits. Yeah, exactly. But for spatial engineering, that's a requirement. Yeah,
That's a requirement.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And you guys have such a requirement?
I would say for the most universities, no, but like well, I know of my friend who's doing, I think his master's at, I think, is it Kiel University? Is it
Mm-hmm.
Kiel? I'd say Kiel. And that one I know like they have internship, but for the most part, most UK universities don't have that aspect. But I'd say it changes. So like somebody, if that's an important aspect for you, you just look for
Okay.
universities which offer that. But for mine, it didn't have the internship. It was just coursework and dissertation. But also, I know, like, let's say if you're looking at the UK, yeah, like there's like Northern Ireland, there's Wales, there's Scotland, and then there's now England. So, like, I know, like, a university in Northern Ireland, they have like you have to do like like dissertation, and then you also need to do like internship. So, like, of course, masters they only have like I think 4 units, teaching units. So universities are a bit different. So you just need like to look what meets your interest and and then now look for that. Yeah.
Okay. And then where we have less than a minute. The other thing I'd wanted to find out before we end, which I forgot in the scholarships bit. For the scholarships, I know that especially for guys who don't have scholarships. Could you be knowing if the universities for ITC and for Abadan are they allowing payment plans or do they want upfront payments? Like what does that look like if you do not have a scholarship, a full scholarship or a partial scholarship? Do they want these payments upfront for the first year or the first semester?
For Aberdeen, they give you like if you want, you can commit to a payment plan. I think they give you like option to pay with, like 3 installments, but you have to like as soon as you get admission, you get to the admission team. Yeah.
Okay. For ITC, Shalina, you guys do they have payment plans?
I think that that one can be discussed. But what I've seen from students gone that direction before, it's like they have to pay. You have to pay first so that you can come to do the studies. But I think that is something that it can be discussed. Like you can when you write to the admissions, they'll always tell you if it's possible to have payment plans. I think once you've paid for your first year, they are assured that you come and concentrate and study. Then maybe for the
Mhm.
second year they can give you the payment plans. But it's always good to just reach out to the university and find out what are the options. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I think we okay. This episode has ended so fast. Like, how has it been an hour?
I
But
know.
anyway, so we've come to the end. I think the one thing I'd want to know from your end. This is now an off question, but like, what was the one thing that what was the biggest culture shock for you across the board, whether it's academic when you first went into class, or socially when you're walking in the street, or when you landed? What was your biggest culture shock for both your scenarios, and for your Scotland scenario, and then and then Charlene, for your Netherlands scenario, what was your biggest culture shock? Do you guys have any?
Would say like culture shock, honestly, I don't know. I would say like the first thing is just like how me, it's not even a culture shock. I just came and it's like was in during winter, my goodness, it is so cold. And then like it's just so cold, and then everything because Aberdeen is like called that it's like everything is grey, like all the buildings are grey, it's called a granite city. So like everyone, like nobody wears color, everyone is just glow. It's just everybody minds their own business, you know. People are nice and
Mm-hmm.
kind, but like people are like people are mind their own business. Like there's no one just like sitting around and just like doing a bunch of nothing. So that,
Mm,
yeah, I would
okay.
say it's the winters, especially in Scotland, is really cold. My God, it's so cold.
I think for sure that's one of the culture shock that you encounter, that climatic
Mm.
change. And then you start experiencing longer nights where it becomes dark by 3
Oh
p.m. It's
yes.
crazy.
And like during winter, when it's like 11 p.m., it's still daylight. Yeah,
Yeah,
during summer, my God.
that is in summer, yeah. Yeah, like those changes in climate, it's really an intense culture shock. For me, when I came to the Netherlands, the most outstanding thing was the bicycles in the streets or wherever, like wherever you go, the number of bicycles actually is a lot even compared to the cars. So that was quite an interesting observation, and just to know that everyone, even the professors, they use bikes to commute. Even the politicians. It's like everyone use bicycles to cycle around and to move around from one city to, I mean, to their workplace, and it's just a norm for everyone. So you can find yourself with your professor cycling, and you go and even park next to each other. So that was quite unique, for sure. And of course, apart from the food culture shock, where here mostly they eat a lot of sandwiches and bread with cheese. That was quite an adjustment. Yeah.
Oh, also, also like one like shocking part is like how people here like so that like this like phenomenon like going to the club is a so club pub is everybody goes to the pub like people granny they just find everybody it's like a favorite pastime going to the pub like even in the morning in the afternoon like anytime people are always going to like Scottish people and their pubs also just English people in the pubs, you know. I was like, wow, this people are so like
Mm,
it's so
interesting,
rooted
yeah.
in the culture, just like the pubbing culture. You find even like your lecturers just invite you, like, oh, let's go to the pub, and you're like, you're my lecturer, and they don't take it like a big deal. It's just
Yeah,
you just go grab a pint or something. It's not a
I
big
know, it's
deal.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, here also that is the case as well. Like you can have drinks, but mostly we've done that. We like during the end of the quarter, you have drinks with your professors, your lecturers, and the most interesting thing that even for the professors, like they don't want you to refer to them as professors or
Mm,
doctors. You just call them by name, by their first name. Like
yeah.
here, the title is not a big deal. Like when someone is a professor, yeah, they don't really want you to call. You just call them their first name, and that's how they always want it, and that's the really a very interesting culture. Yeah, so it's more like a flat. They don't have the hierarchy where you have to call a professor or something, so it's really flat, and you feel like more of a colleague, and you can
Mm,
relate much better with them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
yeah.
very interesting. Where, hey, Kenya could never. You have to almost kneel when you see your professor. My God.
Yeah.
Also, another thing, sorry, can I say something else? Like, I'd say also in school, everything is streamlined. You know how, like, some universities in Kenya, like, you have to go and beg somebody, or I don't have a missing mark, I have nothing happens. Like, I'm telling you, like, as soon as you finish your unit, 2 weeks, the results have been posted. Like, everything is so straightforward and transparent, and like, systems work, or I'd say systems work. I don't have to stress about anything, you know? everything is very transparent. Everything is online. If it's the bus, they work on time. Everything is how you'd expect it to work. And that's nice.
Okay.
But oh, another thing maybe I'll just touch is how expensive for us now. We are more like we are ladies here, so for your hair, my friend, hair is really expensive here. Like you need to know how to make your own hair, or you just either shave or come with the dreadlocks, or maybe survive with wigs if you can. But really, if you want to go to the salon, it's too expensive. So either if you know how to make your own hair, that is the other bit that you can really struggle with for sure. Yeah.
Wow. Everyone should learn how to make
Yeah.
Bantu knots. Guys,
That's for the women, for the ladies in the house, yes.
yeah. Okay. Thanks, guys. Wow, this was very informative. Genuinely, thank you. I think one of the things for the guys who are listening, I'll just add some of the websites Charlene and Anne mentioned just at the bottom of the description for the podcast for this particular episode, so you can just click and look at the websites that mentioned and also the universities they went to for you to just explore as one of your
Yeah.
options. You never know, what the future has in store for you. So I'll add all the websites they mentioned for both the scholarships and
Yeah.
also the universities. Yeah, I'll put that and anything else that we have. I'll share that in the resources. Thank you, guys. This was very informative. Until next time, I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we
Yeah.
enjoyed recording it. Thank you. Okay, we're done. Bye. Oh wow, let me stop the recording.
Yeah.